Welcome back to the Racial Draft Podcast. I am your regular host, Michael Terrell Ford III, and I am joined by the ladies of the league.
Ladies night. Racial Draft Podcast.
All right, that's all we can do. But
it's already chaos.
It's already chaos. Why doesn't everyone introduce themselves?
Well, hi everyone. As you know, I sometimes pop on. Marky, happy to be on with Mike tonight. Coming to you from my bedroom instead of my closet today to celebrate Ladies Night.
Nice. S?
I am Esther Pena. Call me S. And happy to be here. It's only my second actual episode, even though, I've been all over it, in the background in the Discord and all that kind of fun stuff. But I'm the captain of the Latinx team. And I know that normally people drink, alcohol on the show and stuff. But because I clearly am just continuing to evolve into an old hippie, I've got my 25th anniversary kombucha that I'm about to crack into.
Delicious.
Just making sure I can get through this episode.
Okay. Annie?
Hi there. I'm Annie, co-captain of the Jewish team and also known as Fangirl Smash on the Twitter streets. High Strung Comics Tweeter is my brand.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah, that was it. I'm being succinct today.
May?
I'm here to talk about the picks and roast people because the ladies are in charge.
May.
All right. Hey, guys.
Hey.
My name's Monica. I go by May as well. Recently co-captain of Native American. It's the Native American delegates. So.
Woo!
And Kia was here, courtesy Mad Max style from the road, but maybe she'll be joining us in a little bit to round out the ladies of our drafting group. But we're also joined by a dude.
The interloper.
Just like at a real club.
Right, exactly.
Just like a real club.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. Martin, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I can leave if you want.
No.
No, we want you.
You gotta stay and get roasted. That's how it works.
I'll just be in the back.
All right, so that's quiet and shy Martin from the Latinx delegation. It is.
So, Mike, if I could just add something about Martin here. So, young Martin just had a birthday. Yeah. And to celebrate Martin's birthday, I want to make sure that he was on the show today. But also, I wanted to say that obviously, I'm the captain of the Latinx team, and it was really just me, as far as the team is concerned. I gave you Superman and Wolverine and Doctor Strange and Black Panther, but really, over the last 6 weeks or so, Martin and I have been collaborating. We just met on Twitter through this podcast, and I've been collaborating a bunch on the picks, the backstories. Martin's been bringing all of this, perspective and experience, from different background than mine, different favorite comic book universes than mine. And so I just wanted to announce for Martin's birthday, he doesn't know this is happening, but I'd like to elect Martin the co-captain of the Latinx team.
Congrats.
Fly to this
Ocean.
Mazel tov. Mazel
Love it.
tov. Mazel. Congratulations. Woo, woo.
to you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you much.
I am drinking ginger ale and whiskey right now. Just ginger ale and bourbon, actually. So
I am drinking
I'm
water.
drinking. Me too.
I'm driving, so I got Dr. Pepper.
very good. I was about to say we are not confessing to anything.
Well played.
Maybe
man.
next
Well
time.
played.
Maybe next time I'll have a drink, but right now,
Right now.
I got to go to safe route.
You have 6 witnesses.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
You would have a drink for me.
I definitely shall. But I guess now's a good enough time to jump in. First of all, what was everyone? Ooh, that was a lot of wind. What was everyone's overall thought about the 10th round? Marquis, have you been following the picks very closely?
Oh, definitely. And can I tell you, Mike, right here at the top, I'm super excited because Aquaman is on the boards and drafted. A dream of mine since my days of loving Entourage. I can't believe the way real life is imitating art. I'm so thrilled. My only regret is that the fan cast didn't pick Adrian. How could we not have picked Adrian for this fan cast? That's my only regret here. Super excited.
Well, before we jump into any individual picks, I'll just go around and ask everyone about their overall impressions of the round. S, let's start with you.
Sure. I think the deeper it gets, the harder it gets, right? So, early on, it's you know the big names, the easy stories and so on. But the deeper as we get into the draft, I think, people have been doing a lot more research, really digging in the crates, not just on the comic book characters, but also on the legends, that they're bringing forward. I think Aquaman's a good example, all credit due to Martin on that one. Starfire, I think, is another fabulous example. I mean, I am extremely biased, on the Starfire pick, because I feel like it's basically a remix love letter to me. But otherwise,
I just want to know if Starfire still talks like she does on the Teen Titans cartoon. Like we need to.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Teen Titans Go. I'm fine with that. But no, overall, I think it's been fascinating to watch as people really dig into the depth of their own backgrounds as well as their own comic book closets, and we're getting some obscure stuff like White Banshee. I'd never heard of a White Banshee, but that's fascinating.
Silver Banshee.
Silver Banshee.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's
been a long time Supergirl nemesis and a nemesis to all of the super family forever.
But just to the point that I think it's been great to see all of that energy, all that research, all that depth, going into these, while still being able to pull up some really kind of marquee name brand characters. I think Mike, you said this on the Discord, there's still a lot of depth there. There's still a lot of talent, left out there. So yeah, no, I think it's pretty exciting. Great round.
Yeah. What about you, Annie? What are your overall impressions of the round?
I really liked this round. I totally agree with S. We're getting deeper and deeper into writing more complex backstories. I just overall I could not find really a weak pick in this round. Shout out to the native team for picking Silver Banshee, because she is out of left field and she's a great character that's been really underused. Tomati always brings it. I really want to give a shout out. My favorite really this round was Adam's work for the Jewish delegation, and Tomati's pick and the native delegation.
And we have someone from native delegation here. So May, or Monica, whichever you prefer.
May's fine.
Okay, so May, give us your impression of the round.
I totally agree. Trying to research more into different characters and then having to research more into different legends. As Native Americans, it's kind of hard. It's been challenging because we don't all have the same legend.
Right.
Each tribe has their own stories and so forth. So doing the research for that has been, it's been challenging, but it's been kind of rewarding, just because we're learning so much more about other tribes and other cultures and stuff. So it's definitely been challenging, and then I'm kind of curious on who else or how far we're gonna go with the pick.
Okay, sounds cool. And yeah, Martin, I guess we'll let you speak. What were your impressions of the round overall?
I mean, he can drink now, so maybe he can speak as well.
Yes.
Oh my God! Did he just turn 21?
No, that happened a while ago. I'm 25.
Oh, okay.
I can
Happy
write a
birthday,
card.
by the way.
We're just teasing you for being baby-faced, it's called.
Get it?
Baby
I get it.
face.
I get it. Thoughts was good. I'm at my place now, right now, and I'm just not gonna go elaborate, but it was a really good. As a kind of like someone who's really into the story aspects of what we're doing here, I really enjoy stories that are created with all these bits. And that's that aside from just who gets picked, my favorite entire thing.
Wait, could you repeat that last part?
Yeah, I couldn't hear any of it.
Okay. My favorite part is the stories that get so more so than who gets picked, I like to see what the story is, how they go about changing these characters.
Gotcha. So, I mean, with that, we should probably just jump into the pick. So the first pick
Go.
was the Latinx delegation, Aquaman. Who would like to do the honors and read the backstory?
Well, Martin, I'd love for you to read the backstory, but your connection is shit.
It had to be said. It had to be said. Someone had to say it.
Yeah. That we're on here.
So,
What a really hard time hearing you. Yeah, no, I was totally expecting the Martin would read it, but let me just pull it up myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, live radio.
Here we are. In Aztec mythology, there is the story of the 5 suns. In this story, different deities took turns creating the world, with each deity's turn counting for one go-around, or sun. We are currently in the 5th sun. The goddess in charge of making the 4th was Calciolicu. Boy, wow, that is hard to say. Why am I having to do this? The goddess of waters, rivers, lakes, streams, and the sea. Her version of the world ended with a great flood, and all the people were turned to fish. All but a select few she chose to spare. Hidden in her domain of the ocean, the humans quickly adapted to life under the sea, after being blessed by the goddess and survived into the 5th sun. Thus, the lost civilization of Atlantis was created, just off what is now called the Gulf of Mexico. Cut to modern day, and the queen of Atlantis, Atlanta, washed ashore on a Mexican island north of the Yucatan Peninsula. That's where she would meet a lighthouse keeper named Tomás Curiel. The two would fall in love and eventually have little Arturo. He would one day be known as Aquaman, the king of Atlantis. Well, one of them. There's another similar kingdom in the Pacific Ocean, but they don't like to talk about them or their temperamental leader with the wings on his feet.
there you have it. There is.
So I just want to say something here. As much as we talk about the stories that people are putting in and the research that we're putting in at the end of the day, we are doing a fantasy draft. There's scoring involved, and just for a little context, for those who don't know, I think most of you know that Mike and I went to high school together. But Mike has been organizing a fantasy football league since high school, and I've participated, in that league since then. With this COVID year, boy, the ability to have that fix of competing and talking shit with people that you really like and you want to have a reason to, connect with remotely, is really one of the big reasons why I'm in this draft, and I love it. And as part of that, I have to actually, want to win on points, and shut Kia up, especially. So if you look at the roster, look down the line, every one of these big budget movies, so many of these big stars, so many of these books that are getting, mixed and remixed. We have absolutely been trying to figure out who has these appearances, who has that popularity, and of those people, who would have a natural fit with the Latinx team. And boy, the fact that Aquaman, took this long, to get into a round was just an amazing stroke of luck for us.
Yeah, he definitely.
That was shocking. That was shocking.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I think people even, despite the fact that Jason Momoa has been playing him in all these movies, and he made $1 billion playing Aquaman, he's still, in a lot of people's eyes, a little bit of a underrated character. And I think, I think that's going to be a major sleeper for you on the points side, because Aquaman does still have his own book. And
Listen,
a lot of
I don't sleep on Arthur. Do not. I feel he's been a joke, in the fandom for people who don't actually read his books. For people who read his books, he's not a joke.
Yeah. I mean, if I remember correctly, he has both a regular book and one of those digital only books. So that's twice as much exposure as some of the other characters. So great pick as far as 10th round value. Well, higher than 10th round value in the 10th round. And let's see what the feedback was about the pick. Our buddy Eli, who hopefully is going to get us some more commissions, said he did not see that coming. Oh yeah, you guys had a fan cast of Aaron Diaz, and Sean, the white delegation captain, says that that Aaron Diaz reminds him of Chase Crawford, who plays the Deep on The Boys. I don't know if you guys have any of you guys seen The Boys?
Yes.
No, I haven't seen The Boys yet.
I recommend on The Boys. Yes, you'd like it. It's it's a twisted spin on the Justice League, based on the Garth Ennis book.
But the show. But let's clarify that the show is so much better than the comic, because the show fixed the problematic elements that were in the comic, because Garth Ennis despises superheroes, so the book reflected that.
Yeah, I've heard how problematic the Boys comic is, to the point that people were worried that it wasn't, that it was unfilmable.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So I was really impressed by it, and one day I'll go back and read the book. Excuse me, but everyone has said that I don't need to. It's so much better.
You don't need to read the book. You really, really don't.
That's cool though. I'll check out the show.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. No ads. No ads.
And there's a character that's kind of a Captain XP for Aquaman called the Deep, which I think Michael was trying to get to before I interrupted him so much. I'm sorry.
No problem. But yeah, because hardly anyone's seen The Boys, they don't notice the resemblance between the actor that you guys fan cast and the actor that plays the Deep. So I can definitely see it.
So Mike, just a quick follow-up on the Aquaman pick, since this character has sort of been racially bent already in the movies, and I don't remember sort of a backlash against that. Is that just because this isn't a super popular character, or there's not that same sort of proprietary interest like other characters? There wasn't any issue with Jason Momoa being cast as Aquaman, right?
So I think there are two factors at play. I think the first is that it's Jason Momoa and everybody loves Jason Momoa. And he's so cool of a dude that even the people who are big Aquaman fans can't, they have to acknowledge that it's a step up in terms of the perception of the character. In a lot of ways, he's a Thor type character, but you're not going to cast, Christopher Hemsworth to play him. And, I think it was just a matter of the perfect race-bent casting for a character that doesn't have so many people that have a perfect fan cast.
Exactly. I was so thrilled when I found out that he was cast in the role. And I remember when that first trailer came out for the Justice League film, Aquaman fans rejoicing on the timeline on Twitter and noting that you cannot say Aquaman is irrelevant after that first trailer.
Right. And, as it stands, in my own personal opinion, like I think that he definitely brings a different kind of energy to the role than what I traditionally associate with the Aquaman of the comics. And I think there were probably some other characters like Lobo that Jason Momoa could have played really well with the same energy, to the point that I don't know if they can even have a Lobo with Jason, with Aquaman being.
Excuse me, Danny Trejo is still alive. Excuse me.
I think another thing is though that, I think controversy comes up, with characters, being played by actors from a different racial group when people feel like from a racial perspective, that's mine or they're mine. I don't know that there were a lot of people going, God damn it, I want like the orange and green Aquaman to be like a standards bearer for white people. I don't know that there's like that same kind of energy behind it.
Yeah.
And they didn't have like Idris Elba play him. They had Jason Momoa play him. You know what I mean? Like, which is
ambiguous.
Yeah, like I think Jason Momoa is currently operating in that like the Rock space, like the Val, you know what I mean? Like the space where you're sort of vaguely, ethnic, multiracial, and people have a hard time, really pinning that down. And I think, frankly, folks who have a problem with, people of color, in non explicitly people of color roles, seem to have less of an issue, gripping onto folks like The Rock and Jason Momoa and so on, as they do, folks like again, like an Idris Elba.
I think it also definitely helped that Jason Momoa being cast in the role meant that he would have a shirt off for like the entire movie.
Oh, that was a definite plus. Can I also say though, he was very Polynesian coded in the movie.
Yes, he was.
I mean, I got that right away. I got it when they cast him right away, whether it was explicit text or subtext in terms of visuality, that he was Polynesian.
Yes,
and it totally makes sense. Where's Tomati? Yeah. Because it makes sense. They are the greatest navigators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why it was kind of funny that the Polynesian team, reached for Namor instead of go grab Aquaman. To know.
I know that really surprised me. Absolutely. It's funny. Your Jason Momoa shirt off comment just makes me think it's the same reason that nobody complained about Jessica Alba being Sue Storm either.
Yes.
Oh, we complained. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Sometimes being hot does win out. It can make a lot of things go down a lot smoother.
Feels like a good segue for me to reiterate my standing invite for Jessica Alba to join us on the show to discuss her Sue Storm character.
Yes.
Thank you for dunking that layup, Marky.
You pitch, I catch, man. Woman.
And speaking of hot people, that yeah. I'm gonna get Kia's take on Jason Momoa. Kia.
And whether Marky prefers to pitch or catch.
Oh. We have a drop-in, an additional drop-in. Kia, are you back?
This show is pure madness today.
I think I'm back.
We're back.
Hi, Kia.
Hey, Kia.
Welcome back.
We have not passed the first pick. We're still talking about Aquaman, but we were just talking about Jason Momoa with his shirt.
Oh, we were talking about fish again?
Yeah, but we were talking about Jason Momoa specifically with his shirt off. Do you have any thoughts?
Oh, may the Lord smite me with that and I never recover. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, guys, my mom is here with me right now.
I mean,
ladies and gentlemen, Kia's mom.
What do you think about
oh my God.
With the shirt off, the guy that played Aquaman. Let me see straight. Mom, it's just me. You can take off your mask.
I know, that's what she's laughing.
Yeah, nobody can't see you, Mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa?
Yeah. My mother says he's a hot motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Mike, is this the first R-rated episode? This episode's already an R, right?
This episode's beyond R-rated.
Aiming for
Kill
NC-17.
Lisa Bonet.
NC.
My mom just said we need to kill Lisa Bonet.
Wow. We are
I
not
thought that was
confessing the
funny. She might
crimes
just-
on the
Yeah, I know.
podcast.
Yeah, we're not cursing the podcast.
We're not.
Lisa Bonet is a weapon.
There are enough people here for a criminal conspiracy.
Hello.
This is not happening.
They don't know. I know.
My mom
Well, I think we really,
because I didn't put the seal on.
Yeah. Are you gonna say we really squeezed this topic dry? Is that what?
Talk about milking it.
all right, just
Yeah.
Quick while
Let's
you're
move
ahead.
on. Let's move on to the second pick in round 10, which was Hella for the black delegation.
okay. I have so many thoughts.
All right, go for it.
So
Chair.
my team has a problem with this pick in two different ways. So first of all, we've got Spanish Thor, and then secondly, Hela is now what the king's consort, with Thanos or something like that. So
Rebound.
I gotta say, look, it's all love on the Racial Draft podcast, absolutely. And if Hela wants to continue to perpetuate, her image as like second-rate, off-brand Lady Death, and pick up that sloppy second
Groupon Lady Death.
and pick up Thanos and run with him now, then that's just fine. We're gonna be over here living our best life.
There it is. Anyone else want to throw shade at Hella?
F light.
All right. So I'm gonna read the backstory for Hella.
Wait, before you do that, can
Okay.
we just say, "Hi, Martin. Look at you and your chubby cheeks."
He does. He has really chubby cheeks. He's so freaking adorable.
And it's his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
When did you blow out 15?
25. No.
We've also been joined by
Whoa,
the addition by one of the co-captains of the Jewish delegation.
Hello.
Crash the party. Adam, say hello to the people.
I didn't see that. Now I do. Oh my God, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey, Adam. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey.
Just working our way through the picks. We just finished talking about Aquaman and a lot of Jason Momoa's hot talk. Just in case you would like to add into the Jason Momoa's hot talk.
He's hot.
Right. And now we're moving on to the black delegation and Hella. We're about to jump into her backstory as per our buddies Task and Toast from the black delegation. Shout out to the Super Suit Show. All right. Let's get it going. And like S alluded to, there is a little bit of a power couple thing going on between Thanos, who they drafted in an earlier round, and Hela. So Hela is the queen of hell, aka the queen of Oakland. She is known for her intensity and big words. That's why people in NorCal use Hela before stating something to explain the mass or numbers. That's hella dope. There were hella people there. Considering that most people got their slang from the Bay, this was par for the course. Hela never knew about her past, just that she had power over the Dead Homies. The Dead Homies are a gang of zombie gang members who lost their lives to the mean streets of East Oakland, now resurrected and serving their queen Hela. There are Hela members of the Dead Homies, so Oakland has now been considered hell. And just like the queen she is, she needs a king. Thanos and Hela have formed a bond to become the Jay-Z and Beyonce of the black delegation.
Wow. I mean, I live in Northern California, so I'm from Northern California, so I concur that Hela is a linguistic gift to the world. And I really dug this new backstory a lot.
Yeah, it was a great pick. There obviously there were some death conflict, so to speak. But Hela typically does a lot of damage in the books when she does show up. So I think most recently she was in a relationship with Thanos in the books. So it stays within canon. Obviously she was well portrayed by why am I drawing a blank on
Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett, thank you. Like Kate Blanchett in Thor Ragnarok, and only presumed dead, she may yet reappear. But go yeah. Thoughts?
In all seriousness, I got to say that I was just today convincing someone to listen to the Racial Draft podcast by telling them, oh, there are all these folks, who are doing all this research and doing all these stories of legends and myths I've never heard of. But then I convinced them by explaining the Black Delegations picks. The Black Delegations picks are just so fun, are so right on, and like are so now, that like I think if anybody's making picks that like the world would just, love to read about in really kind of broad senses, it's the Black Delegation, and this is another one. This is great.
Anyone else, Marky? What did you think about the pick?
Oh, I love the pick. I think it's hella fun. Had to. And also, I think it continues a trend, Mike, that I've noticed. The Black team is really powering up in these picks recently. They're picking super strong characters now to sort of balance out some of the earlier picks. So I think that's definitely something to be watched.
Yeah. What about you, May? What did you think about the pick?
I actually think I like the story because it's more like more modern.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a minute to think who that was they were talking about. I've been up since 2 a.m., so work with me, guys. But yeah, I actually did like just hearing from the podcast, the story, that I kind of like it.
Yeah. And Kia's back. Let's hear what Kia has to say. Actually, while we wait, Martin, what did you think about the pick? Uh-oh. The battle of...
We really can't hear her. Oh, no.
Battle of the Bad Connections.
Battle of the Bad Connections.
That's impressive. I actually didn't think Martin's connection could get worse, and somehow it did.
Can you not hear me at all?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Well, no, I wasn't saying anything because Kia started talking.
Oh, okay.
I just came back. I wasn't talking.
Okay, so you're back. We can hear you better.
Oh, you just came back.
So what did you think about the Hella pick, Kia?
Well, considering I missed the whole thing, and I don't know anything about that said character, I'm gonna be like, it was okay.
All right. Well, I will take that as a hint that we need to move on.
Wait, real quick before you move on, just in case like my service goes out on me again and then I can never connect, because right now I'm fighting with Verizon, or service of Verizon. They suck. Never have Verizon, but you can put that in your podcast. But are we doing polls?
We still have to go through the whole what do you call it? We still have to go through the whole round.
The draft, yeah, round by round.
Yeah.
So if you do get disconnected for good, hit me with a text and I will put in your nomination.
Well, you already know what it's going to be.
That is true.
Okay, so just in case. Okay, continue. Carry on. We're going to be here until until my thing dies.
Okay.
And my phone goes away. Okay. All right, continue.
Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about the third pick, the white delegation, the villains, the colonizers, if you will. They have gone defensive this time out. They have drafted a previously white character, and that was Jonathan Kent, the son of Superman, aka Superboy. Obviously, Superman was drafted to the Latinx delegation, so I'll let you respond to the draft pick.
Yeah, do you want to just read the backstory first, or everybody has the?
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's read the backstory. Johnny Kent takes after his mother visually, with pale skin and dark black hair. He has shown an aptitude for self-directed studies and is desperate to understand the language and cultures of his father, since he is raised within the culture of his mother. He's beginning to show a better understanding of his father's language than Carl himself, although you can hear his accent and the way he pronounces things. Johnny constantly forgets. Wait, I believe we're being joined by the captain of the white delegation as we speak.
Sean.
Sean.
Hey.
Hey, Sean, we are
Hi, Sean.
reading your draft pick, so why don't you go ahead and read it for us?
Oh, okay. Let me pull it up.
All right.
Who's all on?
We have a number of guests that are too numerous to run through.
All of the planet Earth.
Okay. Is Ez on?
S is on.
Yes. Okay. Hold on. I gotta find it.
Now I'm curious why you're so excited.
Ladies,
shouted
reminder
you
that
out
this is
in
the
it.
A-Force episode. A-Force episode.
It has become a lot more than the A-Force episode. It's turning into that scene with the portals in Avengers Endgame right now.
Yes, it sure is.
What, you want more?
All right, Sean.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'll go braid my beard.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Can I go?
Yes.
I thought it was funny, yes. I thought it was funny.
Thank you. I'm just trying to fill time here. You know what?
So my draft was based off a comment Ez made when she drafted the Superman to the Latinx delegation. She had made like a one-off comment that he had an unfamiliarity with his language, and I was like, oh, I can build a character off that. So I drafted Superboy. Johnny takes after his mother, visually with pale skin and dark black hair. He's shown an aptitude for self-destructive studies and is desperate to understand the language and culture of his father, since he is raised within the culture of his mother. He's beginning to show a better understanding of his father's language than Carl himself, although you can still hear his accent in the way he pronounces things. Johnny constantly forgets that his father had been ripped violently away from his culture and didn't have access to information that Johnny had as a member of the Legion of Superheroes who exists in the 31st century. Johnny represents the overeager white ally who will immerse himself in another culture and make himself an expert in it. His eagerness to do good can sometimes do harm before he considers whether his actions are needed or not. Even with power and knowledge, wisdom and thoughtfulness is needed to make Johnny the Superboy he aspires to be.
There it is.
There was a scene in the first season of Atlanta where Donald Glover goes to this party that was hosted by a white dude, and the white dude is like an expert in African culture, and he's like talking to Donald Glover's character, and he's like, hey, so where are you from? And he's like, I don't know, you know, this horrible thing happened. And that scene has like stuck with me my entire life. It was almost like I had seen what I could have become if I had continued to pretend to be an expert in things I didn't know. And so I stopped doing it. So thank you, Donald Glover, for that. And that's what what Superboy's based off.
Thank you, June.
Yeah, that's really good and dandy, but you're gonna have to say all that over again and in a girl voice because it's girls' night.
Ladies now outnumbered 5-3, I think.
This is how it always is. It's how it always is. Female space is getting crashed by male spaces.
So I got to say, the the backstory that you've created is a really, really common one for first and second generation Spanish folks coming from Spanish speaking families. I think immigrants generally, where you get far enough away from the folks who immigrated in the first place that those folks have been working to integrate themselves into American life and so on and so forth, that things usually happen in one of two ways. Either children kind of reject their home language and put up some resistance because they want to feel and act more American, rather than part of a group that they don't have a community around or what have you, that's isolated. Or they go the other way and they start looking for what has been lost, basically. They start looking for that heritage and that background that, helps sort of ground them. So I actually know quite a few people who, their parents were born here, their grandparents immigrated here, and they're now, studying Spanish much more than their parents did, or writing theses or whatever, doing all this research, doing all this activism. And I can sympathize because really it's on the one hand, it's well intended and it's like a desire to learn and feel connection with your ancestors. But at the same time, I'm sorry, somebody should go on mute because I can hear sort of back talk. Thank you. But at the same time, like, it's so easy to be that overeager ally, you know, and through that process, you're kind of washing away the fact that the, you know, second and third generation immigrant experience is necessarily different, you know, than the experience of somebody born in their original country. And that's okay. You know, I struggle with this with my own children. You know, I'm married to a woman of English and Scottish descent, but, you know, on one line, you know, she's got ancestors that go back to the Mayflower. And so, you know, who am I to say that, you know, their lineage from England and from Scotland is any less valid, you know, or their lineage that, you know, was American is any less valid than, you know, the lineage that, you know, spoke Spanish. But for them, that's a struggle they're going to have to figure out, right? And I think it's like a really, really common story that, frankly, I don't think is told enough or described enough. You know, I think there are tons of New Yorkers in New York right now, for example, who are, you know, trying to figure out what it even means, you know, to be Puerto Rican or to be New Yorican, you know, and how that's different from being Puerto Rican. So, yeah, no, I applaud you, Sean, for this one.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And that was fascinating. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I said it best. I don't think I have anything to extra to contribute.
I just want to add that on something that S noted, that I see a similar resurgence of kind of an enjoyment and a renaissance of young Jews getting really engaged with Jewish culture from all over the world. Mm-hmm. So I see kind of a similar thing. And there was a similar struggle to assimilate, pressure to assimilate, obviously, in Jewish communities when we managed to get here.
Yeah. And similarly, you know, Jews tend to be white-skinned. You know, Superboy is explicitly white-skinned. And it's like, how do you operate, you know, when you look like you could very easily assimilate, you know, then
that's not true. No.
Well, I don't know if I would say most Jews have white skin, because
that is not true. Yeah.
Sephardic Jews and Jews of color make up a large population, but Ashkenazi Jews are definitely the predominant Jews. But that goes along with our choice, why I wanted to go for a Sephardic background for our Jewish character when you're talking about assimilation and bringing in the other cultures that Jews have assimilated into to show sort of the breadth and scope of the people.
Well, that's as great as a transition as we can have into your pick, which is right next. So,
yeah, I want to say
the
misconception needs to die that Jews are white-skinned. We originated as black and brown people. There are Sephardic Jews, there are Mountain Jews, there are Mizrahim Jews, there are Jews of color all over the world. There are Jews in China, India, all over South Asia, everywhere. So let's dispense with that.
Well, jumping on what Annie said, brings up a very interesting question. Is when people say that Jews are white, especially Ashkenazi Jews from Eastern Europe, the question that has to be asked is, why are Jews white now? How did that happen? And that's a history of rape and forced marriages and forced conversions in the white parts of the world that eventually created a white Jewish people. And
yeah, and I also want to say that, and this will get complicated, you can be an Ashkenazi Jew and be black. There are Ashkenazi Jews that are black. So it gets complicated. Let's just dispense with the perception that Jews are white. And there's a whole history of why Jews became racialized as white in the United States, but those are predominantly Ashkenazi Jews, and they do not represent the larger world Jewish community.
It's important to remember, you know, just as we all learn about each other's cultures, Jews have a history of 2,000 years of diaspora and separation, and especially when the Jews were expelled from Portugal and Spain, that sent Jews throughout the whole world, and Jewish cultures developed everywhere. You know, especially because of that expulsion from Spain and Portugal, which is how our character, the mother character, ended up being a Sephardic Jew with the last name Perez, which is one of the most common surnames of Sephardic Jews, being Perez, Rios, and a few others. So I wanted to make sure we included that.
All right, so thanks for that background. I mean, for obvious reasons, most, if not maybe all Jews that I know personally, are, light-skinned.
Yeah,
but
in New
thank you
York,
for that context.
In New York, in some places, especially because, the waves of immigration, you have to remember, there was two major waves of Eastern European immigration, one in the late 1800s, very late, early 1900s, and one around the 1930s, 1940s. And that wave of immigration was predominantly to escape the rise of the right wing and the Nazis and other cultures there. So that wave of immigrants were all, the Jews of what they call the Pale of Settlement, the Russia, Poland, Austria, Hungary, all of those. So that was an influx of so-called white Ashkenazi Jews. And that's why in places like, Florida, New York, and California, you see a predominantly white Jewish population.
And just to tack on, also going back to what you touched on earlier, Adam, I have Jewish relatives that emigrated probably right around the late 1800s, right around the turn of the 20th century. They went to Paraguay and Uruguay.
Mm-hmm.
So I have Jewish family in Latin America, all over the place.
I have a whole section of my family in Costa Rica, and people say, you have a Costa Rican Jewish family? And yeah, because most people forget that when the boats first started arriving here and the United States did not want to get involved in World War II, that the boats were turned away. And all those immigrants coming here to escape the Nazis were turned away. So those boats ended up going to places like Costa Rica and anywhere that would accept Jews at that time. So my family, portion of my family, settled in Costa Rica and became part of the Costa Rican culture.
Wow, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
Spain's fault.
Yeah, well, you got to remember the first Jews that arrived in the Caribbean, and Puerto Rico has the largest Jewish population in the Caribbean. The first Jews that arrived in the Caribbean arrived with the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. They booked passage upon those boats because when Columbus came here is exactly when the Jews were expelled from Spain and Portugal. Same year.
Like I said,
same king and queen.
1492, one of the shittiest years in world history ever. The start of colonization. I mean, I'll shut up because May can talk about that. The expulsions of Jews. I mean, Jesus. It was a rough year for everyone in terms of world history.
It was bad. Yes.
Except for most of my family, but never mind.
Excuse me? S and I trash talk about Spain back and forth a lot.
Hashtag not all Spaniards.
Not all Spaniards. Mike, I know you want to let them get into the pick, but I just want to, and it can segue into discussing the pick, but this is actually a really complicated issue for me because I as I've mentioned before on the podcast, I struggle a lot with sort of the importance of recapturing lost legacy, lost history. It's a theme sort of modern day existence. All of us trying to sort of reclaim past that has been taken from us or stolen from us to try to recontextualize it into something more positive. But at the same time, the idea of blood ties and racial ties and sort of generational ties is also a thing that is very divisive for society at the same time. And sort of reconciling the two has really been a struggle for me recently as I look at sort of what our society has descended into. So I'm eager to hear, obviously I want you to get into the next pick, but just sort of thoughts about what is the balance between sort of reclaiming your heritage, but also not excluding sort of this expanding universe of all these cultures working together.
I guess I don't understand the issue.
Say more.
Yeah, I just thinking about what you said, I don't understand your perspective on this. So I actually want you to say more.
I guess I feel that race and blood is one of the things that is like extremely divisive for people as a general concept. Like the idea that we have these racial ties and this racial legacy, it's actually the very thing that is contributing to sort of this hugely divisive society that we live in. So on the one hand, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, it's important to reclaim all these things to sort of have this sense of past and historical context. But how do we do that in a way that doesn't continue to be so divisive from a societal perspective?
Yeah, I think I
So
need you to unpack what you mean by divisive, though. Like that probably would help.
Can I can I inject something? I mean, I think maybe I might understand, Marky. So to me, and I've been pretty vocal on this in our in our conversations on Discord and whatnot. I think culture is important. I think blood's important from the point of view of family. But I think race is a fiction. I think the concept itself of race is the problem. It was completely constructed, just like nations, in ways have been, constructed to try to establish and codify certain power structures.
Yes.
Even the construction of race, the construction of borders is often just meant to try to solidify some sort of, hegemonic power structure. So I think, when I try to deal with this, and again, brown mother, white father, both Spanish. When I try to deal with this, I think, to me, blood is important. But when I look around, the Latinx population and the diaspora and so on, same thing. I have, you could literally look at the entire color spectrum. I have siblings in my family who go from blonde and green-eyed to black skin, curly haired, and they are brothers. And I think it just gives the lie to the whole concept of race. I think we have to dismantle the concept of race to begin with, before we can actually enter into some of these discussions fairly. I think there's real truth to bloodline, obviously, because your family, your experiences, that past, shape so much of who you are today. And it shapes so much of how people think about, who do I protect and who do I prioritize, when chips are down? Who do I trust inherently? But I have real trouble with the concept of race because, at the slightest bit of inspection, I think race falls apart. I think culture is fundamental. I think blood's fundamental, but race falls apart.
I was just going to say race is a false, arbitrary, nominative construct. Race is a sociological construct. But I think, and we can have those discussions, we can interrogate the origins of race, just as you said, race, maybe a better term would be racialization. And at the same time, we can acknowledge that doing this project is a really nourishing thing for people who feel and have been tragically underrepresented. And it's a way for creative storytelling. So I kind of also had, and we're probably, Michael's going to kill us, but I mean, when I first saw that it was the Racial Draft podcast, I understood the context because Michael explained this glorious project to me. But at the same time, the word racial is itself can be confusing. So maybe we should go with like racialized. People have been racialized rather than calling it race. People have been racialized against their will in some cases for the purposes of oppression.
But I also think that there's something to the idea, like you said, culture is important, that the idea of people finding racial identity and building solidarity around that identity. I think that there's a reclaiming that can happen when people sort of take control of the narrative of what it means to belong to. They may have been racialized at one point in time, but to the extent that their identity comes from the commonalities of the culture, I think that there's something to that shouldn't be completely ignored. It is a social fiction, it is.
Yeah, but you can have culture without having race. I think culture is also a social construct,
and
but
also
it can be very nourishing and provide community. Like, I don't see how, historically race, has been much of a benefit as a concept if you divorce it from culture and from family.
Can we also make it clear that just because the concept of race is inherently false does not mean that racism is not real and that society has been divided along these lines, and so people have been racialized against their will. If so, race does exist in that very narrow, limited way because it is an oppressive structure, a false oppressive structure, but it exists and it causes harm.
Adam, you had something to
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the essence of what we're saying, and obviously race, especially from a Eurocentric standpoint, was that it's kind of like there's white and then there's you're something other than white, unless you're from that part of the world where you grew up in. Then it's my race is the original peoples. But I will say there's something to be said for generational trauma. In that every, I truly believe we carry on through our genetics, behavior, and traumas and things that we've been through in the past. And that through many centuries, there are certain generational traumas built into certain races or whatever you went through in the world that does kind of create a race that's different from others, in that you are a different and unique people, in that you have a common legacy, a common shared heritage. But then you take out the element of race, which is of the skin color and being different. So I think that race is a construct, but I also think you face the reality of the modern day that we live in right now, and you have to recognize that the races are slightly different in that we have a different background, a different generational traumas, a different history that does make us unique, I guess, mentally, maybe. I'm not sure how to describe what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Really.
I think you're getting at epigenetic trauma, and there are, like, pretty much every marginalized group we can think of carries severe epigenetic trauma. And if we're talking about epigenetic trauma, I'm gonna turn it over to May. Let the girls talk. Turn it over to May.
Well, I'm just listening and grasping what you guys are talking about and explaining. And coming from a Native American tribe, especially the largest Native American tribe, the Navajo tribe, you bring up trauma and generational trauma and stuff like that. And now with this whole COVID-19 thing, it's our history, our language, everything has become so precious, just because, as you guys probably know, my reservation is getting hit the hardest, to where our elders are going like crazy. And it's so sad and heartbreaking that it had to take this virus for us to be like, oh, we got to protect our elders, because those are our teachers. How we identify ourselves culturally is like, within my tribe, we have a clan system. And it doesn't matter if you're from different families. If you have that same clan, you're related. And that's who defines you, that is who you are. Which is why I kind of like this story, is that he's like trying to reintroduce himself into his culture, into his history and so forth, which is something that I myself can relate to, because that's what I'm doing for my community. I actually started a elderly care package group, where we're trying to keep our elders home to protect them. And as I go and deliver these packages to their homes, I'm being more introduced to people that I never knew was my family. And that to me is giving me more empowerment as a Navajo woman and within my culture, which is why I really love the story, especially after hearing it being read out loud. It's completely relatable within not only my tribe, but I think every tribe in the United States, with everything that has happened in the past, with the cultural, devastation and stuff like that, where we were taken into boarding school and we endured brutality and torturement and stuff. This story really grasped me, and I like it. I do like you guys' opinions and what you guys are saying, and I like how we can kind of, in a way, relate to each other about it. And but I think this just hit more close at home with Native Americans than most different tribes or races.
Gotcha. Tommy, I think you have a unique perspective, being the only non-American on the call in the group. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Hey guys. It's a weird thing when you come into a conversation that's already well into it. Yeah.
I'm just really glad we get to hear your accent again.
Yeah, right.
Right. We were just to stay on track, we were just about to let Adam read the Jewish background.
Oh yeah.
The backstory for
Oh, well,
our new beautiful Starfire.
It's
Has
really
it been done?
It's long, and I actually have
Mine is too.
my Zoom screen on, and I can't read it. But
I can read it.
Okay.
I'm going to need some help with some of the Spanish pronunciations. I know Martin is side-eyeing me proactively, preventively, prophylactically.
I am also not great with the Spanish pronunciations. I will say that, this was important to me. I tried to do as much research as possible and really drive into the culture, but I am also not good with Spanish pronunciations.
Well, I looked up a lot of it.
Okay.
I just want to say, Adam, you did a bang-up job this week. This was the first
Thank you.
backstory that got to be written by Adam, and I just, like, when I saw it, when you sent it to me, I literally almost started crying.
It was good practice for my comic writing.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
Thank you.
Sorry, getting emotional here. Verklempt.
It wasn't that good.
So shall I proceed?
Sure.
Or did I get off track?
Just a little.
Go ahead.
What?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So once again, the Jewish delegations selected Starfire. Per Adam, Esther Perez hoped for a better life in Puerto Rico. Having fled to Cuba as a Jewish Holocaust survivor, it was now unsafe for Jews in Cuba with the rise of Fidel Castro. She prayed that Hashem, the God of the Jewish people, would guide and protect her. In Puerto Rico, she met a wonderful Puerto Rican Taino man, Enrique Rivera. Enrique's family had been on the island for many centuries. They tried for many years to have a child, and Esther grew despondent. Finally, a beautiful daughter came into their lives. When she was born, she was so covered in vernix. Is that the right pronunciation? Vernix?
Mm-hmm.
Vernix?
That's the
vernix,
stuff
right?
That covers newborn babies when they come.
Yes, the white waxy stuff. That's so beautiful. When she was born, she was so covered in vernix that it reminded them of manna. Esther exclaimed, "Manna
Caído?
Saído del cielo?"
Like manna from heaven.
Yes, like manna from heaven. They named their daughter Manna, for she was a gift from the heavens. Manna had a thirst for adventure, and so the family set out to climb Pico el Yunque, the throne of Yucahu. When they reached the peak, the wind began to swirl, and a single out-of-place tamarisk tree began to glow with fire. Just then, the great Yucahu appeared to them. "The time has come. I have waited many years." "But we don't understand," shouted Manna's parents. Yucahu began his story. "Long ago, from the planet Tamarix came a princess to Earth. She has escaped in hopes of finding help for her planet Tamarix, held in the grasp of her evil sister. In her days on Earth, she fought many great foes. The day came when Yucahu and Hashem and the forces of nature and man faced a great evil from the stars. The princess fought valiantly in this battle, but perished. As she lay dying, she gave the seed of a single tamarisk tree from her home planet of Tamarix. The princess said to Yucahu and Hashem, protect the seed in its growth, and when combined with great power from the stars and a worthy heir, you will see again the spirit and power of the princess of Tamarix. For it was Yucahu who took the gems of earth and placed them as stars in the sky. He placed the power of the princess in the stars and brought them back to earth as gems to be protected. Hashem commanded that these gems be placed in the breastplate of Aaron with his descendants, the Kohanim, eternal protectors of the starfire gems. Hashem and Yucahu proclaimed, there will come a day when the offspring of a Kohanim and Taino, a child shall be born, as white as Yuke, and will come with their parents to this place of honor in the white lands of my home. Hashem's voice bellowed down from the heavens, daughter of Kohanim and Taino, for the house of Israel called its name Manna, and it was like coriander seed, white. You, Manna, are a gift from the heavens. Mana grasped the flaming tamarisk seed, and Hashem brought forth the starfire gems. The power of the stars, the power of stones, the power of the Jewish people. Your skin be as the gold of Aaron's priestly robe, your hair the color of jacinth, your body as strong as this diamond, this emerald, your gift for language, topaz, the color of the sky, brings you flight and speed. Your strength in battle is fiery as ruby, the amethyst, the power of energy. And now, daughter of the stars, use this power to protect your people, to protect Bordekin, to save Tamarix. Filled with new power, Mana leapt from the ground and into the sky, exclaiming, Yo soy Borica, yo soy Judia, yo soy Tamarix. And thus began the adventures of Mana, Miriam, Rivera, Perez, Starfire. Sorry for that really long dramatic reading.
No, that was great. I thank you, Annie. I tried to weave the cultures, and use the mythology of the two peoples and try to combine them. And all of that is historical. And, I tried to use tamarix and tamarisk tree because two things. One is that it sounded a lot like the planet that Starfire was from the comics, and because in reality, people had thought that the resin from those trees, and it was described that way in the Torah, was like manna from heaven. And then, in Exodus, where it says that the manna was as white as coriander seed, and then I looked at Starfire's name, Coriander, and I tried to tie that also. It wasn't just researching the culture, well, I mean, our own culture I didn't have to research, but to try to find a way to interweave them to where it makes sense. And, the Taino people, that Taino, they have their own mythology, and the highest peak, not the highest peak in Puerto Rico, but one of the peaks in Puerto Rico is known to be sort of the throne of the son of the creator in their creation myth. And because the history of the Jews ties so well to the history of the Caribbean, like I said, a lot of Jews were there when they escaped Eastern Europe, and that part about Cuba is true. One of the largest influx of Jews to Puerto Rico was when Fidel Castro came to power in Cuba. And we have this, most people think of the Caribbean, and we know that a lot of the Caribbean is either Spanish or Black. And a lot of the Caribbean is Black because of the history of slavery and the history of the sugar plantations and what was used in the Caribbean. But a lot of times we ignore the indigenous population of the Caribbean. I used to live in St. John in the Virgin Islands, and we also had, the Arawak history, the Carib Indian history. So I wanted to try to take it and show that the Jewish people have combined to become part of cultures of all over the world, and that while Judaism is, I guess, a race and a culture and a religion and all of those things, when we, I guess you call it intermarry, I don't know if that intermarry is a great word, but that it's important to not get rid of any culture, like you were talking about before, Esther. It's about the combination of the cultures and how they interweave and how they go forward, and how we're a melting pot of cultures. Especially, you were talking before about the New Yorkers. Look, we know in New York City, that's the biggest melting pot there is. And people interweave, cultures interweave. So when we talk about culture and race, and you were talking about race as a construct, if you look at places like New York City, Queens, places like that, you meet people and you say, what's your background? And it's not one answer. It's not, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. It's, I'm this, I'm a little of this, I'm a little of that, I'm a little of this. And it's about how you create an identity as a person. Like, I hate it when we read stuff and they go, oh, that person's half Black, half white, or biracial, or words like that. You're not half of anything. There's no split down the middle. You're all of everything at the same time. And I guess that's kind of what I was trying to bring to this history. You acknowledge all of your racial makeup, all of your cultural makeup, all of your background, because you can't say, oh, my arm is Puerto Rican, my left arm is, from somewhere else. It just doesn't work that way. You're all of everything. So that's what I tried to bring to it.
Also, reminder that just before I forget to mention it, that there were Jewish pirates in the Caribbean.
Oh yeah.
Starting in like the early 18th century, there were Jewish pirates like terrorizing the eastern seaboard and hanging out in the Caribbean. It was awesome. That needs to be a movie. Needs to be a movie. The Jewish pirates in the Caribbean.
The Dutch, we say that Christopher Columbus, that the original Jews went to the Caribbean, but the Jews of the Americas, the original Jewish people were, the Dutch Jews that came over. And the Dutch had a lot of shipping operations in the Caribbean and things like that. So that's how a lot of Jews ended up in the Caribbean and shipping with the Dutch people. They forced us into being moneylenders, and they forced us into having a career with money. It's the only situation they gave us. So the Jews ended up financing many different endeavors.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there were a couple, it's get extrapolated into a very negative stereotype. There were a few Jewish businessmen, more likely because they were businessmen and not Jewish, that were involved in the slave trade, and that's very unfortunate. Now, sometimes that gets extrapolated into Jews were involved in this. It was just a couple of Jewish businessmen. So Jews have been involved in the Caribbean and unfortunately in the history of slavery and plantations, but also in many positive ways. So we've been around, we've been all over.
We are all over, everywhere.
Yeah.
Thousands of years of diaspora.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to say, Adam, I thought it was a great pick.
Thank you.
Not only was it a great story, I think it was probably the greatest possible story that could be written for this podcast. And I don't just say that because you were basically remixing my biography.
It wasn't the best story written for this podcast.
At all.
You all wrote great, sir. It wasn't better than.
Yeah, I thought it was a great pick too.
Thank you.
Also, I just want to point out that we have an Indigenous Jew. Starfire is now an Indigenous Jew.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Just to coming back to the story of Starfire, the name, it's her name, Mana. Within Polynesian cultures, Mana is an important concept as well. For us, it's I guess the best way to describe it is some kind of intrinsic power that every person has that can be either enhanced or diminished over a lifetime. And within our societies, those who hold the most mana often are our leaders. And you can either enhance your mana by the things you have done in your lifetime and or genealogy. And so there's an interesting I guess overlap when I listened to you talking about mana from heaven, because also all of this mana is connected back to our gods, and so you inherit a certain amount, but of course you build on that over your lifetime. So I thought that was quite an interesting cultural overlap when I heard the name Mana. And for all intents and purposes, from now on, I'm only going to ever refer to this character as Mana.
Okay.
Because I mean, and this is the fantastic thing about reimagining these characters is that one, I think one of the awesome things that I've learned as being part of the Racial Draft podcast and all that is actually getting an insight into cultures that I would never encountered in my lifetime. I personally have never met anyone from Puerto Rico, so mainly because of the part of the world we're in, we don't really have too many interactions, which is amazing. So being able to interact and just get a glimpse and insight into other cultures is fantastic, but also to see some of the cultural overlaps and some of the experiences of other cultures too, which is similar. So yeah, fantastic story.
And thank you for that information, because that's fascinating, and I didn't know that about your culture, about Maori and any of that. So thank you, that's fascinating.
So I think we should motor ahead, since we've been going at it for about 90 minutes and we're only halfway through the round. So let's pick up the pace a little bit and talk about the next pick, which was the Asian delegation. They picked Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, and they provided an amazing piece of art with that. I'll go ahead. That's the art is by Lauren Lieneberg. You definitely should check it out on our various socials. I'm going to try to go through the story as fast as I can. and you know, everyone kind of give me just a couple lines on it. 1 second. Sorry, guys. There was a little bit. There we go. Japanese American Bucky Tanaka Barnes fought for his country against Japan and the Axis powers in World War II. He felt there was no greater honor and no better way to prove that he was loyal to the U.S. than to fight alongside Captain America. After he was presumed dead following his last mission with Cap, his body was found by Japanese soldiers and taken home to Japan, where he was brainwashed and trained to be the ultimate revenge against the U.S. attacks in Japan during World War II. You know, that's the Bucky story in a nutshell. I'm sure it goes on to talk about, you know, how he ends up coming back to the light. But yeah, what did everybody think about that pick?
Loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the art. You know,
aesthetically, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
You see that.
I think just like the Asian Batman, you know, I love when, you know, somebody makes a pick and you're like, oh, totally, of course, you know, where like just instinctively it makes sense, you know, where that person's, you know, characterization and like the team, you know, line up. I thought this lined up so well.
I do not understand why this pick resonated and was so popular with so many people. I like the pick. It's a great pick, but why did it get so much feedback out of all of the others? I'm just wondering.
I think a big part about it was the aesthetic, the art that went along with it, the blending of the, you know, Winter Soldier is a very mysterious character, and there's a little bit of a Ronin aspect.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm sorry, Michael, you were saying. You know, and just, you know, in terms of what the story set off in the person's imagination, reading the backstory, because you can imagine that whole history of Japanese internment in the United States and, you know, racial views back then, and who was a traitor and who was allegiant and who could you trust and who could you not trust, and you know, your allegiance, and especially Americans in the United States at that time from the countries that were fighting in the war. You know, where does my allegiance lie? Do I believe some of this? Do I believe some of that? And also just because it's fascinating, because, you know, we have this history in cinema and stories of, like, you know, the Manchurian Candidate, you know, people that are being brainwashed to act against their interests or to be deep cover agents and, you know, stuff like that. So I think it plays into all of these different themes that just set your imagination off.
Exactly.
Great pick.
And I think you made a good point, Adam. You know, sometimes with the backstories, less is more. And it, you know, when you kind of give a jumping off point for the story, it gives people more room to kind of let their imagination go about the different directions that the character could play out.
And it felt like you didn't have to bend the race of the Winter Soldier too much for this pick. And of course, I think like most people, I enjoyed the aesthetic. I mean, you could probably see this fit walking down Main Street of Tokyo right now.
Right.
Mask and everything.
Yeah, especially.
Oh, very true.
You know what I'm saying?
Very true. Very true. Very true.
So yeah, Joaquin, you jumped in a little while before. Do you have anything to contribute on this pick? Maybe not. All right, we'll give
Next.
You know, it's interesting just looking at everybody's names. You know, you talk about cultural assimilation. You know, just look at the names of the people that
whoops, sorry.
You know, in this chat, and you could see just by last names, first names, surnames, like the intermingling of cultures.
But yeah, Joaquin, what was your take on this pick?
Sorry about that. I've just been listening. Sorry to cut you off, man. But yeah, I've just been sitting here listening, and a lot of these picks were really damn good picks, and they happened really fast. I think that with the Winter Soldier, as far as the Asian delegation goes, and me being stationed in Okinawa, Japan, and seeing how rich their culture is, Pretty much almost, and I can go along with Tamati's stories along with this, is that their culture is so rich. Like pretty much every single character that they have picked, it just fits. It's just like, wow, like, dang, these guys are good. So yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut in, but like I said, I just jumped in and I just started listening.
I want to hear from May. Oh, and hi, Joaquin.
Hi, Annie. How are you?
Hi. I actually agree with what Joaquin just said. I just want to say that the Asian team has been less is more.
Yes. What about you, May? What were your thoughts on the pick?
I think that the pick and this, it just, like everybody's saying, it fit with the storyline. It was just like a perfect match. Like, and how you guys are saying less is more. Like, it was just spot on.
I think we're getting a little bit of network issue with May, but we plow ahead. Tamati,
Yes.
you're up. Your pick.
Cool. With our pick, we were really surprised that Daredevil was actually still on the board. We had planned to have him very early on, but we kind of let him slip down the draft board. But anyway, I mean, let's get into this. As you can see, we have fan cast actor Manu Bennett to play him in some type of role or movie. He may look familiar. He's been in quite a few American shows.
He played Deathstroke on the Arrow show.
Yes, that's right.
Can I just say homina?
Yeah,
Go on.
Manu Bennett. He was Deathstroke, wasn't he?
He was Deathstroke as well.
Yeah, I've seen him, and I like his a lot of the characters that he plays. I saw him in 30 Days of Night, and he's a really good actor. I really do like him.
Yep. And so so naturally we decided he'd be the fan cast for that. But just to get into the story, so Machu Muru was the son of a Māori immigrant in Hell's Kitchen, New York, part of Polynesian diaspora, I guess. His parents moved to the US so his father could pursue a career in MMA fighting. But his parents were also pro-Indigenous rights. Naturally, it was based on many of the movements that are here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And so relocating to another part of the world, they decided that they would continue on with that. They'd often not only support and advocate for Indigenous peoples, but for all peoples. I mean, really any people that have faced oppression and suppression. And you can see this as a pretty consistent theme too with some of the earlier picks for the Polynesian team as well. It would be at an event like that Machu would lose his father. In the story, a white supremacist steals a truck and plows through a crowd of people. And then what happens is that Machu's father pushes him out of the way, but unfortunately gets killed as part of that. The truck crashes and Machu is exposed to chemicals and stuff which blinds him. So kind of similar to the original Daredevil story as well. So tried to weave that in. His mother, of course, stricken with grief, actually takes him back to New Zealand to go back to her tribe and to heal. But also as part of that, an uncle of Machu takes him under his wing to raise him as his own son, raise him as his son as well. His uncle, being part of the special services as well, in the armed forces, trains him, introduces him to various fighting styles. But of course, as we know, similar to the Daredevil's origins, his senses have been heightened to superhuman levels, and which enables him to, I guess, master all these different fighting styles, but also at incredible levels. Anyway, he would eventually return to Hell's Kitchen, practice as a human rights lawyer, which I know, shout out to Annie and shout out to She-Hulk as well. I know that's a very common thing.
Yeah, Jewish She-Hulk is so pleased, building bridges and solidarity.
Absolutely. But he would use all the skills that he also gained over his lifetime as well to fight against those that would, oppress the community that he lived in. One of those, he actually turned up to Mauna Kea, which is the protectors of course, the mountain in Hawaii, protesting against the placing of a telescope there. And so they've been doing that for a while. But that's kind of just an example of a whole lot of different movements that are happening all over the world that are of relevance around Indigenous rights. Blue Marvel witnessed this, and if you get right back to thinking about the origins of the Blue Marvel character that I reimagined, he's also part Hawaiian, right? Part Hawaiian and part Maori in the reimagining, and so naturally he has an interest in that. Noticed what was happening there, reached out to Machu and offered to support him. Machu eventually becomes part of the team, builds alongside Amadeus Seal, which is our reimagining of Amadeus Cho, a danger room for the team. Now this is a nod, of course, to X-Men comics and everything else with their danger room. So builds that and basically helps to train the team, and so becomes an important part of the team. So that was my reimagining of Daredevil. So I tried to weave a whole lot of things, and just to go back to the Winter Soldier pick, that race bend seemed really natural. This race bend took a bit of time to weave and to create, and so that's where it was. So there we go.
I have a couple follow-up questions, if you don't mind.
Only if they're easy.
Well, I don't know how easy they are. I mean, one thing about sort of the traditional Matt Murdock character is the major role that his Catholicism plays, particularly in the dichotomy between, him as a lawbreaker and a law follower, as well as a devout religious man and someone who takes on the persona of the devil. Is that layer present at all in your reimagining of the character?
No, not so much. I mean, the reason why I steered away from Catholicism and I guess Christianity is because I guess within our culture is that, I mean, just like with other indigenous peoples too, Christianity was brought in as a colonizing tool, right? And so it was brought in a tool to as the first wave of colonization, really. So the missionaries were the first people here. So they were sent ahead of the actual settlers and colonizers. And so I kind of wanted to stay away from that. I had tried to tie it into a spiritual element by saying that he, when he went home to his people, they taught him incantations and karakia and stuff like that to help him level up, but also to have the connection to the spiritual aspects of his culture. Now, the thing about being perceived as the devil, I think how that would tie into this reimagining is that kind of he wanted to find something that would kind of incite fear, I guess, in those he was dealing with. And so it's maybe a bit of a nod to Batman. Why be a bat, for example? And so yeah, so that's that. So no, I didn't really tie in the Catholic.
Why would you? I mean, why would you? It was so Catholicism was so destructive to indigenous people. Why would you?
Yeah.
Are there any Maori stories about vigilante? Are there any cultural stories, any myths or any stories in the culture about sort of a hero or a vigilante or anything?
That was going to be my next question. Synchronicity.
Yeah, a great question. I mean, we have lots of heroes, but I think around the elements of vigilantism, we have a concept within Māori culture called utu, and utu means it's superficially been translated as being revenge. Actions motivated by revenge, but it's kind of more than that. It's about rebalancing. So if there's been a slight against you, in order to rebalance that, you have to take certain actions to do that. So we have a million stories of warriors and or men or women who have exacted utu as part as a way of rebalancing things, because until those actions are taken, everything is out of balance. So yeah, we have, like I said, we have a million stories of that. I mean, whole tribal warfare has started to rebalance those things.
Wow.
It can be a minor slight, it can be a huge slight against an entire tribe, for example. So we have
are
that
there,
concept.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you go.
Are there any movies in New Zealand or anything that sort of tell any of those stories from more of a, like, maybe a magical or super powered?
Sure.
Not
so much super powered, but definitely on the spiritual level.
Okay.
I think it may be on in the States. I'm not too sure what network it's on, but Deadlands.
Okay.
Is a story. It's something you may want to check out.
Yeah.
It's a new series. It actually stemmed from a movie called Deadlands, which was all in the Māori language, but has been picked up by network and remade with all Māori actors. But that talks about a whole lot of things about the rebalancing of things, the human world fighting the spiritual world and stuff like that. And so there are things, but no, there haven't yet been any kind of super powered individuals who have done that. So
that's why Tamati is here. Sorry,
Yeah.
Adam. I was just
I was
say,
going to say I'd love to see more of that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Tamati needs to do a film and TV rec thread for Maori media that we should consume, and then I'm going to shut up and we should move on.
Please.
Yeah, we should probably jump into the Native American team if anyone. Unless anyone has any final questions for Tamati.
I just have one quick comment. This continues the Polynesian team's pattern of making picks that the Latinx team wanted to make and doing them better. So I hate this. I hate this so much.
I hate it too.
Yeah, sorry.
Tamati is going to win. He's so good.
So
yeah, we tried to do these characters justice as well. I mean, especially, I know that the America Chavez pick in particular is probably still hurts a bit, but
Tamati,
we've looked after her.
If I may, Tamati, the one thing that I don't like about your character is the fact that you took Daredevil away from the Native American delegation.
One pick.
How dare you? Now we got to fight, man.
Yeah, sorry, brother.
We were surprised that Daredevil was finally chosen after so long.
Man, when I saw him pick Daredevil, I was like, ooh. Tamati, he did it again. He did it again. Oh, he did it again.
Well, yeah, totally. I mean, we were looking up. We were going to Fantasy Comics League. And seeing, who's scoring, who's appearing, what's happening currently in comics. And as we scanned on that list, we were like, oh my God, Daredevil, like nobody's taken Daredevil yet. And so we were trying to figure out, like, so how does the backstory work, and balance that versus some other things we wanted to pick and whatever. And like, then at the moment, well, fuck it, Tamati took him.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, well, shit. I guess we lost Daredevil. Damn it.
Hey, Mike, we're going to move on.
Damn good, too. Yeah.
It's very humbling to be in this kind of project with Tamati because it's just ridiculous. I want to hear from May all about Silver Banshee and her psychological take on all of this.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear that too.
Guys are putting me on the spot here. Let me see if I can pull up the story. I'm on my phone right now. As you can tell, I'm in my vehicle, but
Michael can read it.
Or
if you could.
He can read it.
Or Joaquin.
Or Joaquin can read. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Joaquin. Of course.
Oh, what? You guys want me to read it?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I don't even have it on my phone right now.
Okay.
I'm just.
I will read it.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead and read it, and we'll explain the whole thing.
All right. Forgive my pronunciation. Thank you. All right. She is a Yaqui, along with her sister. They are twins. Her name is Mi Shahamut, Moon Woman. Her sister is Ta'amut, Sun Woman. Micha is jealous of her sister, despite the fact that they are twins. Although both beautiful, she feels her sister is favored more than she. Although loved equally, she turns her back on her family. She watches her people, she watches her people perform a deer dance, making sacrifices to their gods. Late in the night, she awakens from a vision, tying her sister up, taking her from her sleep, placing her in the same place her people sacrifice the animals. She slays her sister. The Yaqui gods see this and become angry. They strip her of her family's blood, take away her sanity, and make her neither living nor dead. As a result of her being judged by the spirit world, she is forced to walk amongst this world. The gods give her a scream of thunder and pain, superhuman strength and flight. Taking Micha Humet's sacrifice, they grant her wish. But because her heart was twisted with jealousy, they took from her what was most important. So now, caring little for anyone, she goes after other people's hope. That hope has a name, Superman. And that's the backstory, guys.
Hey, Mike, are you're not Native American, are you?
No, I'm
Right?
Because every single time I give you these names and you pronounce them perfectly, and I'm just like, he's gotta have some red skin in him, right?
Mike is your brother from another mother.
I was hoping
No.
you would kind of like flip on the name, but you just read it the way we read it. We were just like, I think that's how you say it, but
Yeah, he said it. He said it perfectly. Like when I did Bane and I gave him the name Shashbizanye, I was like, oh wow, he pronounced it perfectly. So I was like, oh wow, he must have some native blood in him.
But yeah, May, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, on the character, what you put in, what what your connection to it.
oh well, let's see. The whole, I think like the names, it was kind of just thrown at me last minute, like, okay, we need names, and of course I know nothing about the Yaqui tribe. And just so happens that day I met an individual from the Yaqui tribe. And I had mentioned that to Joaquin, and he was just like, okay, we're going to go with that. And I'm like, oh, crap. Okay, now we got to look for names. And I had to Google and research and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, perfect. And it just so happens, like, the two names, Sun Woman and Moon Woman, it just fit perfect with the transitions of the characters. And then we were talking about like what Joaquin had mentioned, a ritual that Silver Banshee that was performing or that had been involved in. So I was like, oh great, you made me do more research. Okay. Then I had to look for a ceremony to kind of connect the two, which is the deer dancing. And I was just going crazy. My wheels were turning and I was just like, okay, I got it. So the deer dancing does involve a sacrifice, which is what Silver Banshee had did to her twin sister. And as Joaquin had mentioned, the jealousy and the envy and so forth, it just overtook her and transitioned her into something else that what she was trying to become, therefore became Silver Banshee. And as much as I try to search for an animal name to represent with a howler to give her a new name, it was just like it's one of those languages where you had to really dig deep to find certain words and so forth. But that was my take on it. And Joaquin had written the story, which, as Joaquin, the storyteller, he is. It just fit perfect. And he also did the fan cast. He found the fan cast for the character, which he sent me a picture, and it just matched who we were working with. I wished he sent that picture. I know the one that's on the Discord shows our character or our fan cast in normal form, but the picture he sent me, it was like a ghostly form. And I was just
I
like,
think that pic
okay.
I think that pic is on the Facebook and the Instagram page. I was able to track those down. But Joaquin, tell us
Oh,
a
okay.
little bit more about the fan cast.
Well, the fan cast, and yeah, I'm a little bit biased on this one. The fan cast, the character, or the I shouldn't say character, the woman that I would have portrayed as Silver Banshee was Sheila Tusi, and she's acted in, gosh, I don't know how many movies. She acted in Thunderheart. She acted in let's see, The New World. She's done I don't know how many movies, but the thing was that the character of Silver Banshee was loosely based on a movie that I saw Sheila Tusi star in called Silent Tongue. And from what I understand from Joaquin Phoenix's brother, River Phoenix, that was his last movie before he passed. And it starred Sheila Tusi, and she played this this ghostly character. And as I told May when we talked earlier today and yesterday, that she was actually really scary in that movie. You know, even as an adult looking at the pictures, I'm just like, oh my God, she looks really scary. But yeah, I wanted Silver Banshee to because in the comic book it's a sister and a brother. But the route that I went, I was like, well, let's make them twins, you know, and one's jealous of the other, because that's almost exactly how it happened in the comic book. There was a brother who was going to be given all this stuff by his family, and the sister got jealous and all this other stuff. So I figure, why not make this character, this Native American Silver Banshee, a character of jealousy, anger, and just go all out. I mean, for her to sacrifice her own sister. You know, some of my Native American friends are like, dude, I don't know, man. But a lot of them, they were just like, you know what, dude, just go there. I was like, you guys want to go there? Let's go there. We'll go there. And yeah, she's gonna kill her own sister, and the ceremony that she performs, it flips on her. And considering the fact that the Yaqui gods that she's sacrificing her sister to are good gods, they're gods of good. Why not just have them be like, okay, we'll give her what she wants, but at the same time, there's a price to pay for that. So they stripped her of her blood, and you know, because the fact that she sacrificed her own blood, they took hers as well as kind of a punishment. But at the same time, you know, she just got stripped of her sanity, and you know, I was like, okay, well, this is kind of good. Keep going. And they said, well, you know, there's a picture that I saw on the internet where she was holding a Superman's cape. Why don't you use that picture? And I do remember in some of the comic books, she actually did beat Superman. And I was like, ooh, wow, this is a good one. But yeah, that was kind of the whole thing that we were going for. May was the one that came up with she came up with a lot of the backstory. So shout outs to May. And you know, I just kind of pieced it all together and put my little 2 cents in, and so did some of my friends. And then yeah, you guys got Silver Banshee of the Native American aspect.
All right, sounds good.
Can I just, Michael, one question?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. My old person memory is not so good. In the Marvel 1602 series, did they race bend any characters to make them native?
I believe they did, but I can't remember offhand who.
I think they did.
Yeah.
Or at least one character. I remember.
Yeah, but I can't remember who. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, me too.
But, you know, other people on this podcast know comics.
No, I know. I was just going to the host.
Annie, if you know, please
let
people know.
I actually can't remember. I'm Googling it right now.
Rather than slow the momentum of the podcast, let's jump into the final pick of round 10. Unfortunately, Kia had to leave for a while, so it was the first Green Lantern. We finally got a Green Lantern off the board.
Oh yeah!
Yay! Finally! Woo!
And some people might say it's bad news because it's Hal Jordan, but I say it's good news because Hal Jordan is now no longer a white man.
And I really want to know what Kia has in mind for Mr. Jordan.
I would have loved to find that out from Kia, but once again, Kia mysterious in her backstories. So she only gave us Hal Jordan, and you know, Hal is a guy with a lot of exposure in the comics. He's still the first Earth Green Lantern. They say.
I mean, I gave Kia a gift, right, in our last podcast.
Yes.
By saying, look, you could always fan cast Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
Being Jewish and Maori.
Yeah. You know, that's interesting. By the way, I don't mean to interrupt, but we were talking about, synergy and comics and everything. Think about that. Taika Waititi, his original last name is Cohen, right? And when he first started his career, he used the last name Cohen. And it just shows like that, we have Thor and, comics, and then we have a Maori Jewish person, Interesting to me. I don't know.
Can I just clear something up? In 1602, they did race bend a character, and it was Steve Rogers. He was just called Rogers, but he was and I'm reading this, I remember now, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Native American bodyguard, whatever that means.
Okay, well,
wrong.
I'm sure Neil Gaiman tried his best.
But yeah, so I mean that concludes the 10th round. We covered took a little time for us to cover the round. So I guess we'll just jump right to nominations from the ladies. Annie, do you have any nominations?
No, I didn't think we were doing nominations this sesh. So no nominations from the Jewish team. I think we're cutting it too far down to the wire.
May and Joaquin, do you guys plan on having any nominations this time out, or are you going straight picks?
I didn't know that we were going to do that. I would have to.
I mean, you guys picked second in the round, so you may not need to do nominations if you don't want to.
I'll leave that up, Joaquin.
Okay. But I do know that S has nominations.
Yeah, would love to. So, so going back to the conversation we had up top of the podcast, talking about strategy, and working strategy sort of deep into the rounds and the scoring system and whatnot, as well as the fact that it is Martin's birthday. Did I mention it's Martin's birthday? Happy birthday, Martin!
Happy birthday!
We've got a special strategic plus birthday edition, of our polls this week. But I will leave the best for last. So we've got 3 picks this week. As always, the Latinx team has to remind everyone, how much amazing top-tier talent is still out there that has not been picked yet. And this week we will do so with Deadpool.
Ooh.
So Deadpool is still, you got the shirt on. So
I had to dig through my closet to find it.
So Deadpool is one of my favorite characters. Obviously, has super popular movies out. Actually, not only has his own book, but shows up at random times in crossovers and remixes and special editions. With all kinds of other people. And considering that the character is so fourth wall breaking, You know, there's
I hate to be this guy, but I am, you know, as the host / commissioner, I have to inform you that Deadpool will also be a nomination for Kia. So we will have our first
Plot twist.
head. We will have our first head-to-head poll where the people have to decide which side Deadpool goes to.
I ain't scared of Kia. So I should give the pitch then for why Deadpool, you know, comes to our side. So Deadpool is canonically an incorrigible, inappropriate horn dog. And if anyone has ever watched Spanish TV, they know that Deadpool is a character right out of Spanish TV. I mean, I remember growing up with, you know, all of these shows where it was just like oozing sexuality out of like all these different directions, and yeah, like short dresses and all this kind of stuff. And like, and it was intense and it was playful and like your kids are watching. You know, and I think Deadpool could totally, you know, be one of those characters. You know, I almost want to say that Deadpool, you know, tried out to be the Bumblebee Man, you know, and didn't get the role, and that got him going in his like military career.
Does he get a mustache?
But so I think Deadpool would just come straight out of Spanish TV. You know, I also have to say that, like, you know, Deadpool is also canonically pansexual, I think. Yeah. You know, so it's wonderful to have you know, representation of a variety of different, you know, queer characters. And you know, I've always found, at least for me, you know, Deadpool was like a really interesting version of masculinity. That you know, besides the fact that, like, in the second movie they basically fridged his girlfriend, you know, like that sucked. But you know, but otherwise, like, it's a really interesting, you know, character when it comes to sexuality. So anyway, for how weird and inappropriate and fun-loving, you know, and horn doggy he is, you know, I think Deadpool, you know, deserves to be part of our team.
Okay. The other nomination?
All right, so I'm going to let Martin do our next nominations, our next two, starting with Constantine.
Okay, so can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you're
okay,
good now.
So okay, that's good. So the idea behind choosing Constantine as someone to add to this poll is that Latinx is actually one of the fastest growing communities in the United Kingdom. And I did research on that, so just to make sure on this pick, and it is one of the fastest growing kind of communities growing in the United Kingdom. So, and he's in a lot of stuff, and he was mentioned in that poll that like maybe the Black delegation should pick, but he wasn't picked. So like that really put him fresh in my head as well. And the idea kind of like that I was going kind of go with it is to, since John Constantine is fairly portrayed as kind of like a trickster, kind of a con man, kind of a individual, I wanted to go with the idea of he's tied to the Aztec trickster god, Quetzalcoatl, who is, you know, this god, the god of mischief, the god of stories, which explains why John Constantine can always kind of like talk his way out of any kind of situation. He's also the god of uninhibited male sexuality. So he will, it very much would also fall into the representation because he would be, Quetzalcoatl could be, has taken male lovers, female lovers. He is also a shapeshifter, so he can be a female as well. And so having John Constantine be tied to this god and essentially making him bi or maybe even pansexual, that we can go into that as well. So that's just more representation on other fronts, not just Latinx. So that's why I kind of went with John Constantine or Juan. You know, very easy name change.
Plus another one that's racking up a lot of points.
Yeah, yeah. He's on
in
like DC.
many respects, he's scoring a lot of points.
Yeah. Okay.
And your third, drum roll.
But Deadpool seems to have an affinity for Mexican food, I will say.
Oh, you have the chimichangas, yes.
Yeah.
We also have Lady Death,
jokes right
who
there.
Deadpool's been tied with.
Yeah.
That is
So,
true.
you know, Thanos can go be with Hela, and then, La Santa Muerte can go be with Deadpool. Boom, done. Like she's not worried about it.
But last but not least, Martin.
Well, third.
Right.
Yeah. So this one is not so much a points pick. It's a sentimental pick. And we've had this established many times in our discussions, and me and S. This pick is only mostly here because it's like my birthday gift, basically. And it is Kyle Rayner.
Ah, yeah.
The best green.
Yes, the best Lantern, period. Let's get that.
He's Mexican in the comics, or he's one
his dad.
Okay.
His dad is Mexican. He's a Mexican-American CIA agent named Gabriel Vasquez, who went undercover in Ireland and under the cover of Aaron Rayner. And that's when he met Kyle's mother of Mora. So they fell in love, they got married, they had tiny little Kyle, and then they had to go on the run because Kyle's dad decided to get out of the field. Because now he has a family. But the CIA didn't want him to do that. So they started kind of hunting him down. Basically, the story was, you need to leave with Kyle, and in order to do this, to give it a believable excuse, I'm gonna have to hit you to give like a domestic abuse. Like, this is why I'm taking my son and leaving this man, even though, it was a thing of like, I don't want to do this, but to protect you and to protect our son, I have to.
Interesting.
Yeah. So basically, this idea is we're just gonna make him more Mexican than he already is.
Yes, he would be.
And he is also now canonically pansexual because he has to fit the theme.
Yeah, the theme this week. This week, everyone's pansexual.
Everyone's
pansexual.
Yeah. So like with Kyle, I said this as a joke. Mm-hmm. It's basically you're scraping the mayo off the wheat bread. Kind of. That's the joke that I had with S, and I just felt like I had to put it on here.
All right. I know who I'm voting for the poll. Anti-mayo pick. Well, I love it. I love Kyle Rayner. He definitely is undervalued and underappreciated in the current canon, and hoping that he makes a triumphant return.
Me too.
So yeah, I mean, I guess those are the nominees. There's not a fourth one, right?
Nope. Yeah, we have one. No,
just three.
No, I thought we were gonna leave that one over.
Okay, got it.
One thing we've been kicking around since now's a good time to prepare you all, since I have more captains than I've ever had on the show, is I think what we're gonna go for with round 12. So you don't have to worry about it in this coming round. But in round 12, I think we're going all polls. So we're going all polls for round 12.
Plot twist.
So the way it's going to work, next week you're going to give me your poll picks, and you're going to either come on the show and lobby for your poll picks, or give me information that I need to lobby for your poll picks. Then you'll spend the whole week campaigning for the various poll picks, and if there's some head to head, it's gonna go by who gets the most votes. If multiple teams win the same poll, and we'll do it from there. But it's gonna be a poll week, 12th round, all polls.
I hate this. And by the way, we have the #1 pick in that round.
Yeah.
That's
Did Kia come up with this?
Yeah, I think Kia came up with this, right?
No, I came up with this.
You came up with this?
Yeah, I came up with this.
Okay.
Because
So we know who to blame.
I'm pro-poll and Kia's anti-poll. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I decided she wanted to eliminate polls, and I decided we're gonna go all polls. So 12th round,
okay.
12th round, all polls. Get your nominations ready, no exceptions, or I will have to create nominations for you, and you don't want that.
Now, to be clear, do we mean that it polls everybody has to vote, or everybody has to pick somebody Polish? I don't know.
We can probably find someone who's Polish.
Yeah.
Do we all pick the same 3 characters? I can't even name Polish characters.
Right, I know.
I love it.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
But yeah, I mean, we've been going at it for a couple hours. We should probably, wind it down at this rate with as many people on the show. It's going to take another hour for everyone to say their goodbyes. So
Well, I'll be the first because I have to drive home. I got to pack. I got a long drive tomorrow, so it was nice seeing all you guys, chatting.
You're welcome anytime. Stay sober on the road, but we can't vouch for what happens once you get home.
Don't forget my drink. All right, bye guys.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
So anyone else have any final words before they say just to summarize the last round and the round to come?
I'm very glad you told us next week with all polls, because that changes who I'm going to draft.
Yeah, not the 11th round, the 12th round. So yeah, Sean, you've been pretty quiet. So give us your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are, I can't believe it took the last pick in round 10 to get a Green Lantern, and you guys didn't even take the good one.
All right. What about you, Adam? Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, obviously, just everything we're doing shows that these comic book companies need to hire more diverse writers and more we shouldn't have all these little indie comic book companies popping up all over when some of these people can be hired, to create these characters. For the big publishing, if we're this creative, then professional writers should be able to be this creative.
Really good point. Annie, is Annie still here?
I think she departed.
Oh.
She shalomed out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll
Yeah, she had mentioned she wasn't feeling super well, so wasn't going to be able to make it through the whole thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So pass along the all polls around 12, Adam.
I will.
And not just people from Poland.
Right.
What about you, Martin? Any final words? Any last second campaigning for Kyle Rayner?
No, not really. I was worried at certain points that he was going to get picked earlier, because I've had some conversations with Sean on Twitter, and I thought Sean was going to pick him. I'm surprised he never did.
Sean is that he is.
Yeah, but so I mean, he's my favorite Lantern. He's the best Lantern. Hal Jordan even said that. You can find the comic panel where he said that Kyle Rayner is the best Lantern. There's no arguing that. But yeah, Hal Jordan got picked before.
I do like our Far Sector Lantern. She's great.
Joe.
I'll put her up there.
You're gonna put her in your poll?
Well, maybe.
Whoa.
Maybe. Now that you give me the idea, I might.
I was gonna take her at one point because her origin is tied to Black Lives Matter.
That's true.
And she out of all the lanterns I studied, hers was the best that I could shape the story to be representative of white privilege.
Oh, Sean. You still
That
have
would be amazing, Sean.
Sean.
So timely. Please do it.
I mean, you're the
Have to
villain.
do this now.
I mean, you're the villain of the draft, so lean into it. Lean into the villainy. Tamati, you have a final words for the people?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, it's always a pleasure coming on the podcast. I realize I missed the first couple of draft picks from the round that's just finished. Just to say to Aquaman, that the Aquaman pick was I have to say I enjoyed that pick because then I thought, cool, another underwater tribe to work with. So there was that. But otherwise, I guess I should probably put in my apologies now for next week because it seems like every other week I'm having to apologize for selecting people that they obviously had in mind. So apologies in advance, people, because there will be another one next week that I think, I'm pretty sure they thought I was going to pick them. So yeah, but otherwise, the backstories every week are fantastic, and they just seem to be getting better. And I mean, to hear you, Martin, say that you did research, I mean, it goes to show that they care that people are taking into creating these backstories. So all power to everyone. So yeah,
Tamati, can you give us a hint as to who you're going to make furious next week?
Who I'm going to make furious? No, I couldn't do that. Yes, come on. I think, well, the only clue I'll give is that it's another female pick, and she has been spoken about in previous picks and previous podcasts. So I'll leave it at that because I don't want anybody to ruin my plan.
It better not be Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl? I can guarantee it's not. It's not Squirrel Girl.
Definitely Squirrel Girl.
All right.
I have Michael.
Yes.
I wish one thing. I'd like to tie a comic book recommendation to sort of what we're doing. There's a great comic book, and I try to shout it out on Twitter, and it's now nominated for a couple of Eisners for this year. It's called Little Bird, and I don't know if anybody else has read the comic book Little Bird. It's very short. I think it was 5 issues. And what it is it's sort of this allegorical, supernatural, magical retelling of the white Christian colonization of Canada and how it overtook the native population. And it's also allegorical to the United States. The art is absolutely fantastic. You'll get sucked in. It brings a comic book aesthetic to that story in that there's supernatural and heroes and things like that. But it's this amazing just retelling of this white Christian colonization of the native peoples of Canada. And it's just really amazing. It's called Little Bird, and I wish I could remember the authors and artists. I can't. But it was only a couple of issue run. I'm sure it's available digitally. So quick recommendation.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
And I mean, we got to leave the best for last. Marky, tie a bow on everything.
I don't know if I can tie a bow on everything, but I will say, I feel like from the competitive aspect, it's not just about the points anymore. I'm detecting a lot of competition in terms of crafting a powerful, compelling story. And I think that's a good and healthy thing. Like, I feel like the competition aspect has actually spilled over into the narrative aspect. And actually, I feel the intensity sort of picking up as we get closer and closer to the end of things. So super impressive, guys. That's all I have to say. I don't know if that puts a bow in it, but definitely the excitement is really there for the next couple of rounds.
Definitely, Mark. And, I'll be honest with everybody. We're not really looking at points. I mean, we would love to get
clearly.
Yeah, we would love to get points in this. We would love to get points, but I think for me and Annie, and I know for Annie who was involved before I was, it's more about, these characters and their narratives and creating the characters. But yeah, we'd love to score points, but hey.
I still say there'll be lots of plot twists within, the scoring's not going to go the way people think it's going to go, and there's going to be some shocking results.
Yeah,
maybe. I have my thoughts about who's running away with it on the point scale, but I'll wait till the draft is over and we do our we get our experts in to break down the picks. But I'm loving the backstories. it's amazing to see just how I gotta admit, I didn't expect the amount of research, the amount of preparation, and the depth that was going to go into these backstories. So every time, obviously, I rib you guys about all the typing that I have to do in order to put these things up on social media, but there's so much creativity.
Hey,
And
Michael, there's something called cut and paste or copy paste.
Yes, but there's also a thing called proofreading.
Yeah, I need an editor. That's true.
Yeah, so, but touche. But yeah, like, listen, guys, listeners, anyone out there, if you're not checking out us on the various socials, if obviously listen to the podcast, obviously let the people know, each one teach one, as far as making a friend and letting them find out about the podcast. But check us out on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, check us out on Facebook. Hit up everyone who's on social media. Feel free to shout out your social media at names, and hit up the writers, the team captains. Let them know what especially leading up to round 12, that's going to be all polls. If you've got some possibilities for the polls, now's a great time to throw those names out.
And some Polish people, get in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say something earlier. What I've noticed in the back half of the draft, it's been the rise of the co-captain. Like, originally it was just Toast and Task, and now it's half and half. We've got Martin, we've got Adam, and we've got May.
That's right. It's
the rise of the co-captain.
Yeah, Tomati, where's your co-captain?
Tomati's a one-man band.
Bring in your daughter. Bring one of your daughters as a coach.
You don't want that.
But no, that's great, guys. I guess it's time to say goodbye, and hopefully no one steps on my catchphrase. But until next time, all things are possible.